So I grew up at Nesodden, and people who know me know that I like to mention that I'm from Nesodden, but I'm not proud of it. Usually I mention it to distance myself from it. But I grew up with Latvian parents, and sort of Latvian parents who didn't want to uh, divulge apart from the norm. So they are like quite upper middle class people who have a lot of families with 2 kids about the same age as me and my brother. And that's sort of their friend circle. And haven't really had any contact with uh, sort of a queer space despite that until really I moved out myself. Um, the norm was very much heterosexual cis and white. You can't mention that without commenting on that. Yes, it is quite racist place. You have Nestle sort of has the kind of the north of Netherlands, I might say, where I'm from, has a lot of the same views as like the west in Oslo, but without constantly being told that they are that. So they don't really know it as much. But quite a like majority white cishet perspective on things. Um, and that really that affected me a lot growing up in that environment. And I am unlearning a lot of like assumptions from that, and taking catch myself doing it once in a while. Still, like things that no, that's obviously wrong. That's obviously a hurtful thing to believe, and I have to go back on that because that's sort of it is what I grew up with. I started questioning, well, started questioning your gender. It's kind of a vague concept. But I was like exploring gender roles before I had a concept of gender when I was like in kindergarten and stuff. But my parents told me before moving school that that was the end of that. You can't do that anymore. You must fit into this role of a boy. A very defined line where I was suddenly not allowed to use those clothes or paint my nails or get a bike lock that's pink or something like that. Um, it was a very like it was a clear line about half a year before I started school, where that just came to an end. Um, and so I sort of growing up, I struggled a bit finding that identity relating to gender in any way. And I think it was in upper secondary that I started to find some terms for it. Um, and living in that majority only space, I remember thinking a lot that I probably was trapped. I was never going to come out because it was too hard a battle to stand in, and you were too alone. Uh, and luckily, that did turn out to be true. And I think meeting more queer people really helped that coming along. And I hope that's something schools can be as well, a place where you can, like we have the kids corner, and kids really, when people bring their kids there, they love to play around in it. And I think it's a great way for people to know about queer spaces before they need to. So that it doesn't really matter if you're queer or not. You should know enough about queer culture to find the words you need to express yourself if you turn out to be queer. And if not, it's still useful language to have to talk about attraction and gender. Um, well, queer people in terms of queer sexualities, I met more like people in my friend circle started coming out as queer, queer identities. as I got more into youth organizations, youth politics, I met people there who were very open about their queerness, but not that much about gender identity, mostly about sexuality. And I didn't really talk that much to trans people, either online or in real life. I saw like videos kind of on YouTube, some things here and there, and that was really all of it. And from that, I thought, okay, this is actually a thing, and we sort of talked about it in sex ed, but we didn't really. It was just a teacher playing a like 7-year-old video in 3 minutes about, hey, gender might be something bigger than sex. Okay, that's it. Thank you. But I was seeing people online posting. I think that made it realize, okay, I can actually. So it is possible to be trans. It is not just this weird phenomena that we saw a short video on in sex ed class. It's actual people who live actual lives. And I think that's important to see people not just, well, of course, seeing trans people being trans is important, but also seeing trans people being people is just as important. Seeing them actually be complex characters, because if you only ever see them as representations for that group, then it's easy to feel like, well, that's not necessarily me. I'm interested in music. I'm interested in science. I have this variety that I'm interested in, and it's not really like I don't fit into that mold of being only that. So I think it's important to see queer people and trans people just being people in different senses. And yeah, YouTube was the place for me where I saw a lot of that. And started finding some words, started exploring some friend circles. But I didn't really talk to any actual trans people until after I came out. I came out at age 19, so 2 years ago, close to 2.5 years ago, when I moved out. But yeah, I didn't talk to, as far as I'm aware, of course, talk to a trans person specifically about being trans until after I came out.